Arizona's 5th Congressional District covers areas of Maricopa and Pinal counties, including parts of Gilbert, Chandler, Queen Creek, and Apache Junction. The district is currently represented by Republican Andy Biggs. Now, Congressman Biggs declined our invitation to debate his opponent, Democrat Katrina Schaffner, an activist and stay-at-home mother. And so earlier today, we heard from Ms. Schaffner. Katrina Schaffner, thank you so much for joining us on Arizona Horizon, and thank you for participating in our one-on-one interview here. You are running in a very heavily Republican district. I think there's like 20% of active voters in Congressional District 5 are Democrats. Why are you doing this?
I'm running to challenge a system that benefits the top and has left the rest of us behind. I think it's time we hold billionaires and their price gouging corporations accountable. Andy Biggs is a wealthy man who serves even wealthier men. But I've worked in the trades, I've worked in corporate, and I've been a political activist my entire adult life. So I understand how federal policy impacts day-to-day life and how the government should impact our day-to-day life.
And I was going to ask you regarding qualifications, because he's a longtime incumbent. He knows his way around Washington. He knows his way, if he chooses to get things done. You'd be brand new back there. Again, how do you convince voters out there that you are a better option than him?
Well, what we've seen over the years is that career politicians like Andy Biggs have continued to put up blind spots. They are completely out of touch with reality and what's happening day to day in people's lives. And so it's time that we have some turnover in Washington, D.C., that we have diverse representation, someone who understands what it's like to have to earn a living. Andy Biggs used his lottery winnings to jumpstart and boost his political career in Washington, D.C. And so far, he has struggled to work not only within his own party, but won't even cross the aisle to get anything done. And I think that voters across the political spectrum are ready for that change. And that's why our campaign has been powered by people who want to see a change in our political system.
That district, I know immigration is a big issue to Congressman Biggs and to folks in that district. He says that the administration has turned a blind eye to violent criminals invading our country. He is calling it an invasion, and he says that the southern border is, quote, wide open. What say you?
Yeah, he says that, and yet he continues to vote against funding the border and supporting border policy. We have seen over the years so many families that have struggled. We saw a couple years ago those images of that father and his toddler daughter trying to cross the Rio Grande, and they found them headfirst in shallow water. These people are looking for safety. Imagine what they must have been going through to put their family through that, to find a place in America where they could hopefully start a new life. And so I agree that we have work to do at the border, and we have that border bill that's been sitting in Congress that MAGA Republicans killed in the House and in the Senate simply because Donald Trump said don't give Democrats a win.
How would you secure the border, and how would you define a secure border?
So that's the thing, is we need to pass that border bill so we can actually have more agents at the border to better do their jobs. We also need to tackle this backlog that we've been seeing. We need to invest in more technology. And in the long run, we need better oversight, because we want to help so that we have less people having to come here in the first place. So we need that better oversight. So in the long run, we actually can tackle this issue instead of playing politics with it.
As far as the economy is concerned, Republicans, Congressman Biggs, blame inflation and blame the problems, that the fact that a dollar doesn't simply go as far as it used to be, on Democratic policies and the Democratic administration, and that the Inflation Reduction Act has failed to reduce inflation for starters. Has he got a point?
I think that we really need to invest in small businesses, working people, and everyday families, and that's what strengthens our economy. Making sure that that prices are, we're holding corporations accountable to keep those prices down. And Andy Biggs has continued to pass tax breaks for the top, and that has skyrocketed our deficit. So he is not concerned with inflation in any way. He is just simply trying to pass those tax breaks for the top and for his wealthy donors. I think that we really need to start supporting everyday families, working people, And hopefully we can get to that point where we're balancing our economy a little bit better so we have more competition so that corporations are competing with small businesses.
So it sounds like you would be against extending Trump's 2017 tax cut.
Yes, absolutely. It's skyrocketed our deficit. We need to invest in people here on the ground.
With that in mind, do you think that's what people in Congressional District 5, in that conservative district, is that what they want to hear from their representative?
Yes, we've been on the campaign trail now for about a year, and people want to come together. They are concerned with the state of our economy. They're concerned with the border. They're concerned with the cost of groceries and the housing market. And they understand that we need to stop playing politics and actually start governing, investing in those small businesses, like I said, making sure that, we have a living wage, and that's keeping up with inflation. And we need somebody who's willing to tackle that.
Abortion. Should Congress be involved in abortion rights and abortion access?
Yeah, too many times now we are hearing so many women who are struggling, who are bleeding out, who are dying because they can't get the health care that they need. So we absolutely need to codify Roe and bring it back to Roe standards. It is not up to any politician to tell a doctor how to do their job, to tell a woman what she needs and how to run her body. That is up to her and her family and her doctor.
Is it up to individual states to make that decision, which is where we are right now?
It's where we are right now, but it's just not enough. We really need to codify Roe on a federal level to protect women and families across the country. And Andy Biggs wants a federal abortion ban, which would be detrimental to all the progress we have made so far in our health care.
But again, residents, voters, citizens of Congressional District 5, are you in line with their thinking?
Yes, I was out there collecting signatures to put this issue on the ballot here in Arizona, and even conservatives want to support Roe being codified. They understand the severity of overturning Roe v. Wade and how it's impacting us day to day. And so, yes, I believe that overwhelming majority of voters do support codifying Roe.
Real quickly, because we're running out of time here, foreign policy, what do you see as the U.S. position in the world? Congressman Biggs says the U.S. puts global interest ahead of its own citizens. Again, has he got something there?
Well, that's coming from the guy who is promoting Russian propaganda and supports Putin. So, no, I think that we as a country need to prioritize our values. And part of that is democracy. I'm not surprised he would say something like that because he was part of the criminal conspiracy to overturn our elections. So we need to commit to our fundamental values and support our allies.
He also says that that money that's going to Ukraine would be better spent addressing the immigration issue here in America.
Then he should pass the funding for addressing the border. I think it's pretty clear based on his rhetoric, how he's been talking about Ukraine, the border, FEMA. It's pretty clear that he doesn't understand how the budget works. So in my opinion, he is not qualified to sit in this position if he doesn't understand that very simple thing.
My last question, and we've talked about abortion, the economy, and America's place in the world, and all of this, immigration. And your ideas, you've got firm ideas, but frankly, they sound like they would be better used and more received in a more democratic and in a more liberal district. How do you get these ideas? And I'm going to ask it again because it's a big deal. This is a very Republican district. How do you get those ideas across to people in your district? And this is a long way to ask the question here. If you go to Washington, do you do what you think is right, or do you do what Congressional District 5 voters and residents think is right?
I believe in working across the aisle. I want to sit down with constituents, listen to their concerns, and do what's best for them, for their day-to-day lives. That's the biggest issue here. It's not about Democrat values versus Republican versus policy like that. It's really about what's going to impact people for the better, for those working people, for families. And a lot of the issues that we're talking about, we can come together in a bipartisan way. And that is something that we should be doing to move our country forward. And the overwhelming majority of people, whether they are a registered Republican, independent, Democrat, they understand that. They understand that we need to better invest in our local economies and small businesses. So I don't think that we're that far apart.
Okay, so you would say a mixture between your ideas, their ideas, as opposed to either or.
yeah, I think it's absolutely important to come together and find common ground so that we can move our country forward.
Katrina Schaffner, again, Democratic candidate for Congressional District 5. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.